So, I am currently back in the US. I just landed not even 48 hours ago. And man, is it tense over here. Um, Not exactly the most popular person in any room over here. I get that. And I get that I supported, after Bernie Sanders, of course, was out of the election, someone who is not terribly popular in some parts of this country. I'm in Buffalo, New York right now. Not terribly popular here, apparently. I've never seen this country or any other country I've ever been in quite this divided. Um, and I understand it. And you have to realize, I just got back from one country and I love the people and you know who you are. And I'm not trying to say anything bad, but I just got back from one country where a man got 30 years in jail for insulting the king's dog. He offended the king, not even the king's dog, on social media. I've written some stuff on message boards before that was pretty benign, and anybody who knew me and had any context for it, and in my diaries as well, would have understood better what I was trying to say, would have understood the context. You know, Nobody's got any business reading my diaries. Nobody has any business listening to my private conversations and things said on message boards meant, to be consumed by a few people that in that local dance community or whatever. Not that anyway. But the problem with social media, and this is not a problem, but this is one side effect of it, is that it makes things very immediate and very visceral in a way that we never had in mainstream media. You read the newspaper, it's talking about large things that, yes, affect people, but it's not so immediate and visceral as you pull up your laptop or you swipe your smartphone and you can start reading it immediately and you think, this is about me. This person said this is about me, and these things are very intimate parts of our lives. Our smartphones, for most people, are in their hands, you know, more than their toothbrush. These are things that are very, very integral parts of our life. A laptop, that screen, it holds a power over you, and it's so easy and accessible and instantaneous, and it also has the authenticity or the appearance of authenticity of not being mass produced like mainstream media. That doesn't mean it's necessarily any less full of crap. That doesn't mean that something you're reading or looking at hasn't necessarily been manipulated to make things look a certain way or portray a certain perspective. You have to really sort through a lot of information and do a lot of research and a lot of background and assess the source of the information you're getting, even on social media, and look at the intentions and look at long-term trends and of how that particular cause or that particular site or that particular agenda is affecting things and how it's been trying to affect things. All of that being said, don't take things you see on social media so immediately and so personally. And whereas we used to get politics in a small dose in the morning news, in the afternoon news, in the evening news, or in the newspaper, or in Newsweek magazine or whatever, now it's, in your Facebook feed 24 hours a day. And I've always been interested in this kind of stuff. I started studying politics 20 years ago plus. I studied international relations in London, and so for me, this has always been a huge part of my life. This stuff, you have to have a certain detached distance to understand meaningfully what can be done with the information. Yeah, these things affect you. If you're an illegal immigrant and you've lived in America for 10, 15 years, and you're seeing immigration reforms come through, they're going to affect you personally and immediately, or your family, or you're looking at, a brother, aunt, sister, cousin, uncle being deported out of the country, that's understandable. You have to understand, though, these things are policies, and they're broad strokes. And I understand, you see one or two stories and anecdotal situations of somebody being here 30 years, they lose their family, they lose, a brother, they lose a sister, they lose a parent, and you think, Trump's a racist. Those things don't necessarily connect, and the logic's not there. Hyperbolic speech is just that. When someone says something intensely, when someone uses, words that some people might find offensive, it's generally meant to grab your attention. I use that in writing all the time. And you say it because it is offensive. It should be offensive. The situation's offensive. Just like when Jonathan Swift wrote about eating the poor. He wasn't really saying, here's a recipe to cook poor people. He was saying, you find this offensive? You should find it offensive. You should find the situation it represents and discusses offensive. Oh, well, if this is unreasonable, what is more reasonable? I don't know, maybe treating these people like human beings. It's satire. It's sarcasm. It's a way of presenting something to create an emotion that's so opposite of the necessary emotion, and to create such a sense of cognitive dissonance that it might just motivate you to act, that it might just motivate you to see something a certain way. With myself, I've always been acting, and I look upon my diaries, I look at, things I write as ways of reflecting on situations I've seen, places I've been, and things I've experienced. So when you're consuming the things that other people say, you need to understand they have a personality, they have a method of presentation, there's a context for that situation. If you're not there, you don't know them, you don't know what was going on, you need to step back, and you need to take, whether they're talking about, whether it's a racial group you belong to, or a socioeconomic group you belong to, or a nationality you belong to, you need to have a certain amount of emotional distance, because we live in a world now where we have access to loads of information all the time about everything and anything. And if you start personalizing every single bit of that and being offended by absolutely everything nonstop, A, I don't know how you can keep the energy up for it, but B, we're going to get to a situation where, and trust me, this exists from personal experience, your life can be put under threat because of things that you believe or things you even just think. And once you have that, you can kiss freedom goodbye. You can kiss democracy goodbye. You can kiss any kind of, non-fascistic society goodbye, because all you're going to have is tyranny of fear. Tyranny of fear of offending people. And that is not compatible with any kind of ideals of meaningful freedom. So be aware when you're consuming social media, not only of the content, but of the way it affects you. Stop. Read Facebook for 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever. Do your usual term, and then stop and think about, notice before you log on how you felt, and then after you get off how you felt. And think about the things you read and how they affected you, and how much of that content is there for a reason. Most people's Facebook feeds there's an algorithm that's built into it that's meant to keep you there. They're going to show you the things you want to see. They're going to show you things that are going to keep you clicking. They're going to keep you logged on. That's where the money is. So we almost create these little bubbles that are filtered reinforcements of our own opinion with our social media use. It is not and the whole thing, it's like, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The whole thing is people think that all social media is this incredibly free, endless form. As long as they can put an algorithm in there that says, oh, this person is likely to have these beliefs, we'll show them more of this, you're being manipulated still, just like you would be manipulated by mainstream media, only in a less corporatized manner. These people aren't stupid. You can't be stupid and run Facebook. So just be aware. And, when you go out and you interact in public, you realize that we still all have to share this space. We have to sit on a bus together, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, or you love Trump, or you hate Trump, or you think that Hillary Clinton not winning is the worst travesty ever committed, in mankind's history. Whatever your belief is, we still all have to share a public space. So you need to have the self-discipline to contain your reactions to anything that you consume as far as information. Uh, so that's as long as I'm going to go with this. Please just, because I haven't been here in 4 years and it is really affecting the fabric. And I understand that's extra potent with me, but I can see in people's reactions to each other how they're interacting differently, how they're kind of more fearful of offending or even being associated with something or someone who might offend someone else. You can't have that in a free society. And so I'm just saying, you know, if this is what you want to live in is a free society, it takes discipline, it takes emotional discipline, and it takes comfort with, things that you don't necessarily like. That's it. I mean, people went out and fought and died for your right to be offended. And, you don't have a right not to be offended in a free society. There are so many things in this world that offend me, it's beyond belief. But I live with them because I have to. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. Interesting to be back. We will see what happens. Talk to you guys later.